Welcome, Age of Vintage Society. Stage-trained actress Dorothy McGuire, whose credits include A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Gentleman's Agreement, 3 Coins in the Fountain, Old Yeller, and A Summer Place, was one of the most interesting leading ladies of the 1940s and 50s. Dorothy McGuire enjoyed an extended career in Hollywood, but her facial appeal was more striking than anything else. What was Dorothy McGuire's charm that enchanted Americans? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Dorothy McGuire was an actress whose work in movies like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn and Swiss Family Robinson made her popular. She enjoyed a career that spanned more than 40 years and appeared in more than 40 movies. Although she hardly got any awards, McGuire was recognised for her contribution to the motion picture industry. Aside from her acting skills, McGuire was also popular for her ageless looks. The actress retained her youthful looks over the years. She was extremely versatile, always bringing style and grace to every performance. But she didn't build a large cult following of fans, despite a solid legacy of truly memorable screen performances. Perhaps that's due to her general aversion to publicity and a life lived without a breath of scandal or notoriety. From 1943 to the 1960s, the stage-trained Omaha-born actress was a favourite leading lady to such stars as Robert Young, Gregory Peck, Burt Lancaster and Gary Cooper, often playing the gentle, understanding wife. She became a star in her first film, Claudia, based on the Rose Franken play, in which she had appeared for a year on Broadway and another on the road. McGuire's controlled, well-crafted portrayals won critical praise, but no Academy recognition until 1947, when she was nominated as Best Actress for her role as Peck's wife in The Gentleman's Agreement, one of the first films to attack anti-Semitism in America. It won the Oscar as Best Picture. Clearly Hollywood, at least by the 1930s, had a vision of shaping and projecting model roles of human beauty via movies. I stress the word human because in deciding to project any role that is intended to be exemplary or beautiful, the producer, the scriptwriter, the director and actors of these films could not escape contextual questions like, are the values to be projected to be specifically American? What is American anyway? How much will these values be determined by dominant Anglo-Saxon or nationalistic or political or conventional bourgeois views expressed via the content of movies? Indeed, the quest to be human, to assert the quality of human values above other particular local, ethnic, parochial, secular choices of values, pushed an important, perhaps the most important, segment of Hollywood film production from the 1930s, and specifically during the 1940s and 50s, towards a hothouse of filmmaking that has grown in stature and value with the passing of time, and an apparent contemporary disregard for idealistic creative visions in film, or even art in general today. Some of the most exemplary, memorable and uniquely accomplished actresses of Hollywood's best decades between the 1930s and 60s, when quality films came in quantity and were not minority surprises as they are today, never received an Academy Award, yet their performances and their whole style and human value make their films a preserved precious oeuvre of such quality and beauty. They can add meaning and pleasure to the lives of those who only see them now. Dorothy McGuire was such an actress. In speaking of Dorothy McGuire, the professional press reports and critical books on screen stars suddenly become unabashedly and exceptionally reverential, describing her as gentle, charming, mature, intelligent, tolerant, radiating kindness, warmth and inner beauty in unglamorized roles. For those who never noticed or even heard of McGuire and want proof of such descriptions, her 24+ films provide an impeccable record that shines like a beacon of beauty and pleasure against a noticeably jaded contemporary world without soft-edged convictions. McGuire was born on June 14, 1916 in Omaha, Nebraska. Her career spanned from 1943 to 1990, but as one of the leading ladies of her time, McGuire showed exemplary courage and determination when playing her roles. Her calm composure made it easy for her to be adored by fans and many American wives. Just like her contemporaries Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, McGuire was stunning. However, she did not command the same sexual appeal the others did. According to producer Darrell F. Zanuck, she was just an angel. The former actress came from a comfortable background and had a fairly good start in life. Her father, Thomas Johnson McGuire, was a lawyer who encouraged her ambition to become an actress, while her mother, Isabel Flaherty, was a well-to-do career woman. She studied at the Omaha Junior College in Nebraska, and later on she moved to Ladywood Convent in Indianapolis. After her graduation at the age of 19, McGuire was already a groomed actress. Her career began a few years earlier at age 13, when she successfully acted in A Kiss for Cinderella, which also starred Henry Fonda. The role was well contested by over 200 applicants, but it was an easy choice for the film directors after they set their eyes on young McGuire. Visiting New York actress Violet Hemming said of her, "The girl is a born actress. She reads lines with a natural intuition, not as a child who has been coached. She is like a breath of spring." McGuire developed her acting skills with the support of her wealthy father. After the early success she garnered in her Broadway career, she searched for more demanding roles, which meant she had to go to Hollywood. She attended a convent school in Indianapolis and junior college in Massachusetts, appeared in summer stock in Maine, then sought acting jobs in New York. After one flop play, she understudied Martha Scott in Our Town. Scott remained healthy for 6 months, then moved to Hollywood. McGuire inherited the leading role. She toured with John Barrymore in My Dear Children, at a time when the fabulous actor was drinking heavily and losing his memory. He chided McGuire when she tried to prompt him in the lines, but when she left the play, he recited to the audience a sonnet he had written to her. She next appeared in a Benny Goodman swing revue, then modelled tennis dresses. She failed an audition for Philip Barry's new play Liberty Jones, when it quickly folded. After leaving college in 1937, McGuire focused full-time on acting, and after playing some roles in New York, she acted in a popular radio soap opera, Big Sister. After some touring, she was offered a 7-year film contract by David O. Selznick. Out of work, she learned that producers were seeking an actress for the title role in the feature Claudia. David O. Selznick signed her to a film contract and bought the film rights to Claudia as well. Since he was in a producing hiatus, he sold the rights to 20th Century Fox. Joan Fontaine, Loretta Young and Margaret Sullivan tested for the role, as did McGuire. Selznick campaigned for his contract actress, declaring, "Her personality became the personality of Claudia, as though Claudia were an actual living person." Studio boss Darrell F. Zanuck agreed. It is a loss to today's film viewers that many of McGuire's excellent films, like those of many actresses of the 40s, 50s and 60s, are not easily available as they ought to be. How easily can we put our hands on Claudia, directed by the suavely tasteful England-born director Edmund Goulding, who came over to Hollywood in the late 1920s and enhanced the industry's quality immensely. McGuire was 25 when she made the David Selznick production. Goulding's talent for enhancing the feminine strong points of his actresses no doubt ignited her sense of self as a satisfying possibility, which she carried forward into her roles to follow. 1945 would be a busy year for McGuire, one where she worked under the bold and innovative producer Dor Sherry at RKO Studios, one of the successful vintage Hollywood studios whose films were of the highest quality, until millionaire Howard Hughes bought the company in 1954 and ran it into the ground. In the 1944 film A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, McGuire showed her acting prowess when she played the poor wife of a drunken waiter, and later on she took up the role of a lonely plain woman married to an unhappy, deformed First World War veteran in the 1945 film The Enchanted Cottage. She said in a 1982 interview that she was a bit confounded by Hollywood casting decisions and never learned how to craft a more consistent screen image. "I love my career, but I never felt much about how to nurture it," she said. "See, I've always been rather shy and not very adventurous. I had no image, so I found myself in a lot of things accidentally." However, it is in 1946 that McGuire delivered her first stunning trademark, simmering, passionate performance under Edward Dmytryk's socially controversial effective direction in Till the End of Time, another RKO production under the progressively tolerant producer Dor Sherry. Dmytryk would later be shallowly blacklisted as a communist-influenced film director by the House of Un-American Activities trials in the early 1950s. McGuire's role as the emotionally wrecked war widow who bounces back in a passionate romance with Guy Madison, an equally forlorn returning post-war Marine, possessed the wild seed of similar roles to follow, in which the larger social world threatens to cripple its individual members with fatalistic conclusions. But McGuire established a consistent and coherent strength of individual personality in her films, which resisted and overcame such social obstacles. Her anti-conformist and anti-conventional attitude was rooted in a liberal and liberated mentality and behaviour, which thrilled us with subtle suggestiveness and intellectual strength like no other actress before her, whether Joan Crawford, Bette Davis, Barbara Stanwyck or Katharine Hepburn. The proof of such a style came in 1947 with Gentleman's Agreement. McGuire's role as the ex-married woman introduced to journalist Gregory Peck gave cinema a whole new feminine power in attitude, freedom of lifestyle, fashion and subtle sexuality, caught between personal open-mindedness and familial conformity. However, McGuire's profound achievements in this film, and most of her other similar roles in the outstanding films like Make Haste to Live and 3 Coins in a Fountain, show how an individual feminine style comes to possess and demonstrate qualities which defeat the barriers of social stereotypes. Her key weapon in these films is her cultivation of inner human beauty above and against racial egotism, nationalistic intolerance, prissy moral dogmatism and false modesty. Of course, she qualified as a film star because of her physical beauty as well. A bit short but compact with a small chest, but wide-hipped. Her special features were her wide sensual mouth, small teeth which sparkled like her eyes when she smiled, especially in those black and white masterpieces of the 1940s. It was Kazan's sensitive camera which first lovingly doted on McGuire's most jolting physical feature, which contrasted with her subtle sensuality. That feature was her prominent buttocks, which the movie camera caught lovingly in profiles with her slow, pensive walk, in close skirts to the knees, or in those flowing satin skirts which softly outlined her shapely figure in John Negulescu's colour classic 3 Coins in a Fountain. McGuire also mastered the short wavy hairstyle, chickly pinned or brushed back. It went perfectly with her mildly smoked cigarettes, her warm tone and careful speech, her posture, as in Gentleman's Agreement, when Peck first meets her on a blind date in a restaurant, and she says, smiling at the end of their conversation and frank admittance of mutual attraction, "What about dinner?" The scene then cuts away and we never see them have that dinner, but we are left with the impression that her use of the word dinner is not simply literal, but a euphemism for something else much more pleasurable. In 3 Coins in a Fountain, McGuire, as the loyal long-time secretary of an ageing American writer, Clifton Webb, living in Rome, suddenly ends their coy platonic beating around the bush by admitting that she loves him, realizing his intellectual pride would never have allowed him to admit he felt the same. This is Dorothy McGuire's style, which filmmakers knew, casting her correctly over and over again. She made a motto of less sweet talk and more romantic action, which could be quite passionate, though she never disrobes on screen. She knows immediately the strength of her decision to love when the right time comes along, and her lack of hesitation catches us unaware. Nothing proved this more than in A Summer Place of 1959, produced, directed and written by Delmer Davis. McGuire is just one of the characters who combat this social pattern, even from within her own family. She is the unfaithful wife of an upper-class alcoholic, whom she married to avoid the scandal of her early affair with a poor lifeguard, brilliantly played by the unique Richard Egan, who delivers one of Hollywood's most precise and fiery attacks against all sorts of prejudices evident within his American wife. No other film since has shown father and daughter discussing sexuality so openly and permissively. Today her films hardly appear listed in numerous popular film anthologies, nor do some of the most socially important films by her directors like Kazan, Negulescu and Davis. Yet her whole effect created an aesthetic standard shared between different character roles. Perhaps McGuire's touching role as the pacifist wife and mother of a Quaker family in Friendly Persuasion of 1956 sums up her mixture of nonconformist morality and simmering sensuality, hinted at in the theme song of this wonderful classic film. Thee pleasures me in 100 ways, put on your bonnet, your cape and your gloves, and come with me, for thee I love. This invitation in her 24+ films no doubt went out into the open-minded societies across the world that thrived on film culture of quality and once made Hollywood film stars like Dorothy McGuire a vital asset in the cultivation of human beauty worldwide. After looking at about half a dozen films by McGuire, the discerning and observant film viewer will notice that it is not just the actress and her roles that are somehow consistently outstanding, but the entire films themselves. Scanning McGuire's overall film career, the first noticeable fact is that most of her films were made by classic Hollywood's best, most intelligent and socially conscientious directors. The fact that she appeared twice under Kazan's direction and 3 times under Delmer Davis, 2 of Hollywood's foremost socially effective, boldly open-minded and critical filmmakers, immediately tells us that McGuire had a lot in common with the anti-prejudicial across the board, viewpoints and practical positions expressed in their films. To act certain roles simply to obey studio requests, without sharing the views and actions they project, would hardly produce results of authentic power and persuasion. This particularly applies to those consistent roles displaying a universal style of inner and outer human beauty, which McGuire established her creative immortality through. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Dorothy McGuire was truly an angel, but never learned how to craft a more consistent screen image. I think Peggy Cummins could totally relate to that. Let's see why Peggy Cummins' talent was never really explored fully by Hollywood.